Welcome to Imola for round 3 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. After 2 thrilling rounds so far, we go racing in the beautiful Italian parkland in this iconic and revered circuit. My name is Peter Mackay. I'll be taking you through all the action tonight alongside my regular broadcast partner, Paul Smith. Paul, it's been a great start to the season for the Porsche Club of Great Britain with 2 different winners in the Pro class and Alistair Hatcher taking the lead in the AM class, but all to play for here at Imola.
It certainly is. Hello, everybody. Yes, it is going to be an intriguing round, that is for sure. Just one 40-minute race to go at. And we were talking beforehand, Peter, that it's not always the easiest track to overtake at. And I think in terms of the drivers in the GTPs, they may struggle with traffic. So the traffic may be a big talking point.
I think it will be. Well, we hit round 3 after our Japanese adventure at Suzuka and Fuji to kick off the season. But here at Imola, a real challenge indeed, particularly for multi-class sports car racing. In a couple of weeks' time, we have our first endurance race of the season at the Daytona International Speedway in Florida before nipping south, of course, to Brazil for the Interlagos Grand Prix. Then we have another endurance race at Spa, of course, the traditional visit to Silverstone, and we finish off at one of the meccas of endurance racing, Sebring International Raceway in southern Florida on the 11th of June. So there's are the championship standings at the moment in the pros. 42 points for Daniel Lee puts him 5 ahead of second place Rob Sharp, who won the opening race of the season with a cunning strategy at Suzuka with just using 1 pit stop. James Cummings sits in third with Byron Crawford and Stephen Kershaw rounding out the top 5. Paul Goffin and Johnny Elias at 6th and 7th. Christian Zaruta missed the first round, but a win in round 2 has put him back in the conversation. Danny Jones and Heinz Meyer looking to get their championship challenges going in 9th and 10th. Alistair Hatcher sits 8 points ahead of Stephen Haley, with Alex Jones, Ryan Penny and Oliver Carbadine rounding out the top 5 in the hotly contested AM category. Kim Such sits in 6th with Andrew Shepherd for Scuderia Chickenhouse in 7th. Alex Owen is 8th, Ralph Meyer 9th and Anthony Franklin rounds out the top 10 in AM. So qualifying is underway. The AMs, they go out first in their Porsche 992 GT3R machinery, running to the global FIA GT3 regulations. Then we'll see the pros in a short moment. We'll go out in the Porsche 963 GTP prototypes. At the moment, it's Stephen Haley who sits on the top of the shop by just over a quarter of a second from Oliver Carbadine, with Alex Jones in the Jägermeister car sitting in third. Alistair Hatcher, not quite where he wants to be in qualifying, but still a little bit of time left on the clock.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think our clock has just frozen as well on the on-screen, so apologies everybody for that one. There's about 19 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here. It's as the time's come in, Steve Haley then, yeah, as you point out, he's at the front, but Carbadine has just set a lap time that's a little bit closer now, and that means that it's going to be getting a bit tighter at the front of the field. But these GT3Rs, they're a fantastic piece of kit, unbelievable kit, and they do produce some really good, terrific racing as well. Pretty close pack racing you can get with these cars, relatively speaking, compared to the GTP prototypes.
Ooh, a little bit of front-end washout there for Alex Jones in the Jägermeister car, and then actually got a bit of oversteer on exit, so a little bit of a handful for Jones, having to throw quite a lot of lock at it there, going through Piratella down towards Aqua Minerale. Very tricky corner. You just get over the curbs there and you try to get as good an exit as possible. Don't break track limits. That's another talking point here at Imola, particularly in qualifying. Then up to the Variante Grosini, named after the late Fausto Grosini, whose team have carried on. His wife is running that MotoGP team now. They had Marc Marquez in the team last season with a lot of success, and currently lead the MotoGP World Championship with his younger brother Alex. So very fitting name to that very, very tricky chicane. Out of the final corner then, out of Ravazza, and then it's a long old way back to turn 1 there, Paul.
It certainly is, and this, ever since they got rid of the old final chicane, it really is a long, flat-out blast down this straight, and this is going to be the very best opportunity for making any overtakes is down in towards Tamburello. Of course, greatly changed Tamburello back in 1995. They changed that, and along with here, the Villeneuve chicane as well, because it was absolutely flat out all the way through to this corner, Tursa, in the past. But of course, changes had to be made given the increasing car safety and circuit safety that was really pushed because of that fateful weekend back in 1994.
Yeah, so such a sad, probably motorsport's darkest era in modern times, I would say, and thankfully been much safer since, and of course preserves this great circuit. I mean, it's we see a couple of Italian circuits going through parks. We see them at Monza, but here at Imola, it just has a little bit more character to it, in my opinion. It's got a little bit more undulations. The big difference between here and Monza, actually. There's quite a lot of elevation change in certain places, but you need a car that's comfortable underneath you, and you need to kind of get under the skin of this track, find out the tricks, the ways to go quick here at Imola. Carbadine has gone up to pole position then, 142.857 for him. He's ahead by a smidgen from Stephen Haley, just 18 thousandths of a second this separates pole position at the moment. Then Alex Jones in third, 0.287 off pole, but here comes Kim Such up to the line. The line is a long way down. It's all the way around where that red and white sign is, and he's giving a big tow there to his teammate for Oris Digital. That's Ralph Meyer, and did they improve there? Kim Such, no, stays 7th.
Well, this track is one of those tricky tracks where the start line is in a different location to the finish line, to the timing line. So the timing line is right where the track curves before pit exit, whereas the start line is very much towards the end of the pit wall there. So there's a difference in the timing line and the start line here. So yeah, about halfway down that stretch that they'll actually set their lap time. But it's an incredible circuit, and of course, I was mentioning it in our pre-race chat, Peter, that home to my favourite corner name out of all corners in World Motorsport, and that's Aqua Minerale. But it's not just my favourite corner because of the name. It is a really tricky corner, and when you get that right, there's a really satisfying feeling going through there.
It does, yeah. I think it really does give us satisfying feedback when you get Aqua Minerale just right. It's kind of almost 3 corners together, actually, all sort of pieced together. But Stephen Haley was trying to find that extra 18 thousandths of a second, but just went away from him on that last lap as Alex Jones comes into the pits. Qualifying done for him, so it looking like at the moment it's going to be Oliver Carbadine on pole in the AM class. Stephen Haley sitting in second right now, Alex Jones in third. What can Ralph Meyer do? Does he have anything left in the tank? He's down in 8th at the moment, sitting 9th in the championship. Can he drag himself up the order a little bit, maybe picking up a slither of slipstream possibly from Andrew Shepherd? Over the line he goes. Ralph Meyer goes up to 7th, so does find an improvement at the end, and that will put him on the 4th row of the grid. Andrew Shepherd, he will be all done for his qualifying run. He'll have to come into the pits now. They've got until 15 minutes to go in the qualifying session to set their times. So, as you can hear, he's backed out of it in the Scuderia Chicken House machine, which means with 10 minutes to go on the clock, the GTPs will head out on to the circuit and go for the Pro Class pole position. It's Danny Lee, the championship leader right now, by just 5 points from Rob Sharp. James Cummings only 6 points behind, then just 9 points off the lead. You've got Byron Crawford. So yeah, 9 points covering the top three. It's very, very tight at this early stage of the season. And Danny Lee, new driver to the championship, but certainly not new to sim racing.
And what an introduction to the series, isn't it, for Danny? Yeah, he's not got the race win to his name.
Was that an engine just going bang?
Yeah, that was an engine just going bang, yes. As I was saying, he's not got the win yet, but he's got a couple of podiums in his belt, and to win a championship, you need consistency. So here, you get a perfect view. Pit exit is there. That's the start line that you can see with Barney stood over it. But the timing line is right where the track curves round back onto the sort of older layout with the MotoGP chicane. That's where the timing line is for those of you watching from home. And do you know what? I sometimes get asked on my social media, Peter, they go, why is it that the finish line's in a different place to the start line? It's all to do with the position of race control, because if everything fails, if all the computers fail, they have to be able to look out the window.
Yes, very true, very true. It's that sort of circuit, isn't it? There's quite a few different sort of configurations you can find. So I remember the World Superbikes, when they had that chicane, it was like they're almost like pieces of hose pipe that had been cut into pieces and then made a chicane out of. It was a bit odd, actually.
Other forms of chicanery are available, as long as it's not a sausage curb. I think that's the one thing that we agree on.
Oh, they can get the bin. The only sausage welcome in Italy is actual sausage, because they do good sausage in Italy.
It's adequate, yeah.
Yeah. But Danny Lee, no wins so far, and yet he leads the championship. And that, to your point, that it's the consistency that matters. Well, I hope whoever blew their engine has been able to get back and get another virtual engine out of the truck. Hopefully it's a GT3R engine, not a 963 engine. I would think a 963 engine would be a bit more pricey.
I mean, either way, it's going to be not cheap, yes.
No.
I was watching as we're about to go green flag for the pros here. I was watching on YouTube the BBC Grandstand coverage of the British Touring Cars Toka Shootout from 1993, and they had an interview with Derek Warwick, who was driving as a favour to somebody in a Toyota that he'd borrowed, and he said it had all sorts of incidents in the race, and he goes, he says, I'm a little bit disappointed, but it's nothing that a bit of time and money won't fix.
Yeah, pretty true. I know. We have a new flying bogey. The number 119 car of Christian Cerruti had been running the Manti colours, but similar-ish colours to the Manti, but green and luminous yellow for Christian Cerruti. So new flying bogey there. I wonder, does it have the pick it, lick it, flick it right on the side of it, like it did before?
He probably heard you from last time, didn't he, Peter?
Yes.
And was there saying, I'll bring it back, Peter.
I think is that it on the roof? I think it maybe says it on the roof. It looks like quite a bit more professional sim racing. Maybe he's signed for a sim racing team as Christian Cerruti. But the drivers here, this is again early days for the new iRacing tire model for these cars, where it's a lot closer to the real thing. In terms of the tire warm-up procedure, is a lot longer, and you have to be a lot more careful. So the lap times are going to get quicker, basically from now until the checkered flag. We got our first experience of it in Fuji, and it really made for a very exciting qualifying session. So over to the line they go. Danny Lee's got some real good clean air ahead of him, so he can try and put a qualifying banker lap in early, but you know, if your fastest lap of the session is your first lap, you're probably not going to be on pole because the tyre's not at its optimum at that point.
Yeah, we've been finding about 3 laps, 4 laps in is when the tyre is at its absolute optimal, which around here is going to be basically your final effort across the line. So definitely these drivers will be considering more bringing the tyre into the working range and getting it into the right spot in terms of pressures and temperatures. And you can see even now Denny Lee's doing a little bit of weaving back and forth just to try and activate the sidewall of the car, of the carcass of the tyre, and to scrub the surface of the tyre across the asphalt just to try and generate whatever heat he can. The best heat for tyres, though, actually a lot of people don't realise this, comes from the brakes. Baking those tyres and the wheels itself with the heat from the brakes really does help bring up tyre temperature.
Yeah, it does. And of course also the process of braking creates friction as well, which then creates heat, of course. So yeah, it's a double effect when you accelerate, brake. So Danny Lee comes around, we'll set our first flying lap, and to sort of set the initial benchmark then in the white, black and red number 188 machine. Over the line he goes then. So 133.745, just 63 thousandths of a second quicker than Tsuruta, but early days yet. Keep an eye on those times. They're going to get quicker and quicker throughout the session. 6 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. Rob Miller, what can he do then? As it's Danny Lee from Tsuruta, from Goffin, from Crawford, from Kershaw right now. Here comes Rob Miller, who's had at certain tracks been very, very impressive indeed. Over the line he goes. He goes up to third. There goes Miller.
I think an important thing is behind Danny Lee, Christian Tsuruta is in the slipstream, so he can get that effect down the start and finish straight. And Dean Powell as well, not that far behind Tsuruta either. So those two getting a nice bit of slipstream, which it won't have the biggest effect around this track, but especially down that start and finish straight, that is where you really will feel the effects of it, as Rob Sharp moves up into third place now.
Through the Grissini chicane then comes Tsuruta up through the gearbox, opening up that 4.6 litre twin turbocharged hybrid assisted V8, pushing out towards 700 horsepower depending on the balance of performance at any one time, but up to 700 horsepower basically, all through the rear wheels. So these are serious machines. He tries to tuck nice and close to the wall, trying to shorten that run to the line as much as possible. It's a 131.167 for Danny Lee then, with Tsuruta 0.118 of a second behind. And actually it seems like on that lap, well, we saw Danny Lee pull out about a tenth of a second, but there seems to be more of a gap than that actually between them, so maybe not quite so much slipstream for Tsuruta as we maybe thought, and Danny Lee really getting down to business in this qualifying session with 4 minutes 38 left on the clock. Dean Powell in third, in fact make that fourth because Rob Miller has just popped in another quick lap for third place. Here comes Danny Jones in the Haribo Bear. Is this going to be a Tangfastic lap? No.
Oh dear, that's basically a packet full of those love hearts from the Star Mix rather than being Tangfastics, if you ask me. There you go.
A whole packet of the love hearts, yeah. Or the fried eggs.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
No. I did see, I was in Spain last week and I did see an entire bag of the fried eggs. I was like, that can't be popular, surely.
Who's that marketed to?
Well, do you know, it was in a vending machine in our hotel and they were all gone the next day. So
because the workers went and took them out and went, they're not selling.
They're out of date.
Pack it up.
They're out of date. As a Valentino Rossi fan, I did like it, the fact that the bottles of water, you know, you had them from number 21 through to 40 or something. Through to 50. And the row number 46 was empty long before the rest. I thought that was very good.
Oh, Dean Powell's moved up to third, so obviously got a better lap time in this time. And again, we're seeing those times getting faster and faster as they're now on to another lap of their tyres being up to temperature. So now they're really starting to get into the position where we'll be seeing those lap times ramp up.
Yeah, Danny Lee, 130.3 now has extended his gap. So as the tyres have come up to temperature into their window, Danny Lee's actually increased his gap at the front of the field. As through comes James Cummings, he goes to 5th. Rob Sharp sitting in 7th at the moment, winner of round 1 with that excellent fuel save strategy. What can he do? Can he move up a position? No, stays in 7th so far. What can Tsuruta do though? Can he, really attacking the curbs, the former Caterham racer, and might well, that lap time may well be scrubbed. Look to have stretched over track limits there.
It's amazing how somebody who's used to driving Caterhams and racing Caterhams can be able to handle a downforce vehicle like that. As
Danny Lee's off.
Off. Yeah, Lee.
Oh dear, so Danny Lee doesn't, well, will he be able to get back going again? Will he actually keep the tyre on its window? Or will that be it for Danny Lee? As did Tsuruta improve there? No, he didn't.
Yeah, it was invalidated lap, the last lap by Tsuruta, so he's got one more opportunity. He might sneak another lap in Tsuruta, but I think by that point the tyre may be past its best.
Yeah, this is probably the go-to lap. I think you're right, Paul. Let's see what if Tsuruta can pinch that pole position. Over the line comes Rob Miller then. He goes up to 3rd, so he dropped back to 6th, and Miller just finding faster and faster lap times when he needs them. What can Cummings do now? In 6th place right now. Can he move up into the top places? He does. He moves up 1 position, so we'll move across the 3rd row of the grid. Here comes Tsuruta though, really attacking the curbs at Aquamina Rally. But here's Grassini. This is the corner that caught him out on the previous lap. Hits the curb on both sides, and I think that might be a scrub as well. You know, all 4 wheels outside the white line. Certain corners can be adjudicated differently, but in general, that's normally a break of track limits. But iRacing has an automatic system. We don't need to have stewards watching every corner. It's, a little bit of a slide coming out of Rivazza. That may well be it then for Christian Tsuruta. It's going to be front row, that's for sure. As he comes up to the line. 131 flat, so yeah, that won't do it regardless. So is there anything left in the tank?
So I can tell you, exit of Grassini, as long as you've got tyres in contact with the red and white curbing, you're still within track limits. So he would he did stay in track limits, but it wasn't to his benefit.
No. And the thing is, you've not got an enormous amount of grip out there either. So sometimes getting the power down can be tricky. Over the line comes Rob Miller. Does he improve? No, he does not. Certainly not in position anyway. As here comes Cummings then. Does he have anything left in the tank? He's on the 3rd row of the grid at the moment. Can he move up onto row 2 or even onto the front row? Right now, no. So he stays where he is. So it seems like we did hit that peak of lap time, but can Rob Sharp, he's down in 9th, 5th row of the grid for him at the moment. Can he find any more to try and pull himself up the order? No, doesn't look like it. No, 132.191 then. Right, Tsuruta, last chance saloon for the former multiple champion in the flying bogey. In fact, I'd say this isn't really flying bogey. This is more like cool runnings than flying bogey, actually.
Feel the rhythm, feel the ride.
It's pole position time. A Porsche 963 bobsleigh. Over the line he goes then. Does he improve? No. He does not.
He validated his last lap.
Okay. Well. So, and Lee actually went a bit quicker. Tsuruta's 0.4 of a second off then. Miller very, very nearly putting it on the front row. What can Drew Fletcher do then in car number 26? Can he channel his inner Danny Pedrosa here? Over the line he goes. Does he improve? No, he's going to stay 7th. So it'll be 4th row of the grid there. Rob Healy is going to start from the 6th row there in Pro. Exciting qualifying session, I have to say, Paul. I mean, in terms of the realism, that's what iRacing's position and niche in the market is to provide the most realistic simulator possible. And this tyre, yes, it's not as friendly, yes, it's more difficult, but it's more realistic, and we've seen that with a really exciting qualifying session there. Danny Lee and Christian Tsuruta are your front row, with Rob Miller and Dean Powell rounding out row 2. James Cummings in the Flying Calippo will start 5th beside 11/10 Racing's Byron Crawford. Row 4 is Drew Fletcher alongside the Barbie Girl and Steve Kershaw. Rob Sharp and Paul Goffin start on the 5th row. Row 6 is Rob Keeley alongside the Harry Bobert, Danny Jones in car number 5. In the AM category, well, it was an exciting qualifying session there too, with Ollie Carbadine taking pole by just 18 thousandths of a second from Steve Haley, with Alex Jones and Ryan Penny making up row 2. Alistair Hatcher will start back in 5th, so not so good qualifying for the championship leader. He'll roll off on row 3 alongside Andy Shepherd. Row 4 in AM is Ralph Meyer, who starts alongside his teammate Kim Such. Then it's Alex Boney and Alex Owen. The Pink Pig, Andy Marston, starts from 11th alongside Tony Franklin in car number 100. So into warm-up we go, and yeah, those qualifying sessions, they with that new GTP tyre model, Paul, it really works, because the times, they just get faster and faster and faster.
Until you reach the end of that 4th lap, and then they seem to drop off. Although Danny Lee, I think actually him having that mistake down towards the end of the lap at Rivazza, I think that actually helped him, because it forced him to just take a calm lap just to bring the tyre, because if you have any sort of slide with this tyre, you're going to put a lot of surface temperature into the tyre in iRacing. And you need to bring that down again. You need to make it less angry before you then attack again. And I think that actually forced him just to take an easy lap, cool those tyres down a little bit, and then have a final push lap. And I think that actually helped him, whereas Christian Tsuruta had just kept pushing, and those tyres just kept on getting a bit hotter until they reached their the peak and went over that.
So 3 minutes left for warm-up then for this 3rd round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. The 9th season. I remember the very first season back in 2020 during COVID lockdown, where many Porsche Club racers, real-life racers, were looking for an outlet to get their competitive juices going and keep sharp, and many drivers actually taking their first kind of steps into competitive action, and that could be achieved through the Porsche Club of Great Britain. There's been some amazing friendships formed. The 11/10th Racing team, who now race in the Enduro Car Championship, they all met here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing. It's an amazing story and continues to go from strength to strength. And just showing you that sim racing, although we're in the virtual form, you can form really good friendships out of it.
Yes, I mean, I think back to my first proper competitive championship that I competed in sim racing was back in 2014, and I've still got friendships that are from that first season back in 2014, and certainly it's, you've all got one thing in common, which is a love for motorsport and a passion for sim racing. So actually, it's 2 things that you've got in common there, and it's great. Okay, you're not going to get on with everyone, and you're going to have your run-ins with certain people, but generally speaking, when you get a group of sim racers together, they just have a really good time, and it's fantastic. But you're absolutely right, Peter. It does get the competitive juices going, and after I'd finished playing rugby at a very amateur level, this was my competitive outlet.
And that's the thing is and you can do it in a team environment as well. You know, it needn't be an individual basis. That, in fact, the thing where I really enjoy with sim racing is the team element when you take on an endurance race. And it typically goes absolutely dreadful, but that's not the point. You have such a laugh and you have so much fun, even in the preparation stages.
I'll tell you now that the first endurance event I took part in was the 2015 iRacing Spa 24 Hours, and it was back before we actually had Porsche. It was the RUF, the RUF GT3 spec car, and it was that memorable. Was the event. We had such a terrible time. Every driver in the team except me crashed the car, and one of our teammates, he was driving along and he says, "Why does the oil pressure show suddenly that it's really low?" And at that point the engine went pop.
And that's probably the most typical example of an iRacing endurance event. But you do it with your teammates, it's great fun. And you don't get a big bill at the end of it. It's fantastic. It's great. Well, we're almost ready to go then for round 3 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. 40 minutes on the clock for the GTPs. 1, possibly 2 pit stops, depending how much fuel they use in those Porsche 963 GTPs. We saw at Suzuka, the eventual race winner at round 1 was Rob Sharp, because he was the only driver who was able to do the race on 1 stop. In Fuji, everybody did it on 1 stop. So let's see what we're going to see here at Imola. In the 992 GT3Rs in the AM class, they will have 1 planned pit stop. Track temperature, getting pretty balmy, I would say. 35 degrees Celsius on the track. So going to start to feel a little bit greasy out there, particularly if that begins to climb. We're at 2 p.m. in sim time. But also, the GTPs at the front of the field, they've got to be very, very careful indeed, because those tyres will be absolutely stone cold and will need a lot of warming up. They pull off behind the pace car. They've not got a huge amount of time, basically Aqua Minerale, they've not got a huge amount of time to get any kind of temperature or pressure into the tyres, so it's going to be tippy toes into Tamburello at turn 1.
I would be trying the trick of dragging the brakes. Drag the brakes, get a bit of brake temperature in, because fortunately you don't have to worry about brake fade compared to in other sims. I would like to see brake fade brought into this sim, but I think that would just give people carte blanche to just say, "Oh yeah, sorry, my brakes failed." But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm not going to predict how many pit stops we get for our GTPs, because every race I've picked wrong. So I'm just not making a prediction, Peter.
We're going to predict it's unpredictable.
Yes.
There you go. Well, they're nestled up 2 by 2 behind the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Touring, exclusive to iRacing, and it's going to pull off and allow Danny Lee to guide the field into green flag, into Tamburello. Long drag down to turn 1 here, and it's a long wait for that green flag as well, a little bit like at Fuji, funnily enough, but it will be Danny Lee who shows them away, waiting for that green flag to wave. Barney, the man with triceps of a god, holding that green flag up patiently. Green flag in the air. We're going racing here. Round 3 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. It's a steady getaway there from Danny Lee as Christian Ceruta's made a great jump on the throttle. He's going to try and go round the outside. Oh, he's lost it. He's off. Ceruta's off into the gravel, just went to turn into Tamburello. There was 0 tyre temperature, no grip at all, and he's going to have to eke his way back onto circuit. Now, can he get out there before the GT3Rs come through? He can, but not that easily. He asks for the power again, and it wiggles as Alex Jones is off the road. Hatcher's off. It's all arms and elbows as they all crash in front, and still only a couple of cars going off. Alex Jones is off, Shepherd's off. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I think Dean Powell also had issues in your GTP field into Tamburello. It wasn't just Zeruta who had that big issue, and you were absolutely right to call it out, Peter. The cold tyres, they were going to be tippy toes, and I'm afraid a few drivers seem to have got caught out at the very first turn. And even now, exit of Aqua Minerale, well saved, Drew Fletcher.
Oh dear, you can just see as they ask for the power, the rear just wiggles around all over the place because there's just no... Whoa, oh my goodness, the Wright Motorsport car there coming through. Just no braking performance at all because there's just no temperature in the tyre. As, off goes Alex Owen as well in the Gulf machine. Gee whiz, it's so tricky. As Danny Lee, he's opened up the gap to 1.1 seconds over Rob Miller. Kershaw in third, and look at the GTPs. They're actually weaving back and forward on the straight. That's not to try and break the toe, that's just to try and generate some tyre temperature.
I think if you're Danny Lee, you are rubbing your hands with glee that your biggest rival in Christian Zeruta is all the way down to 11th place right now and having to work his way past the GT3 traffic as well. So it has been a massive thing. Even the GT3s have had big drama. Here's Zeruta, he loses it into Tamburello. As I say, also Dean Powell had issues as well. Look at that, you see, just having issues mid-corner through Tamburello chicane. That slowed him down, and we look back even more now, and that's the two around. So James Cummins, big drama, but this was the big one. Alistair Hatcher must be thinking, what have I done to deserve that?
Well, that's our championship leader in AM. That's not good. Not good at all for him. As messy. But you know, they kind of checked the whole GT3 field up with that slow-moving prototype. And yeah, how do you avoid that? Not really a huge amount you can do.
And just when you thought, with the onboard there, just when you thought you'd made the right decision, the other car just suddenly spins in front of you, you're like, you feel so silly that you've missed the main contact. This is what happened then to Jones, and just around to Aqua Minerale.
Oh, it's kind of more like, I would imagine Aqua Minerale would be like frozen Aqua Minerale on that opening lap with the GTP machines. Ceruta's got sort of back going again. I think, did he avoid any contact? I think he did. So at least he won't have a compromised car, at least in terms of its performance, and can try and start making some moves. But yeah, it's difficult with Danny Lee already trailing him in the championship, having missed round one. Really would want to try and get another win on the board with Zeruta, but yeah, that wasn't the ideal start. But it wasn't even close. He just could not get the car to turn.
And did you notice as well, after he'd got the car scrambled out, Dean Powell now runs wide through Aqua Minerale. Did you notice that after he'd got the car out of the gravel trap and was trying to pull away from Tamburello, you had the combination of stone cold tyres and dirty tyres at the same time, and every time he asked for throttle, the back end was just there going, nope, can't cope with that, you're going to need to take it easy. And it showed. It really does show how it's such a tricky thing for these drivers to get accustomed to. And maybe it was just Zeruta just being in that mindset from qualifying. You know how the car feels in qualifying, going into turn one, and yeah, just carried too much speed, it seemed.
Yeah, it's just all part of the early days of discovery on this new tyre model. It's just when you think, yep, they're into the window we need, and they just, no, not quite there yet. You've got to be so patient. But Rob Miller is not letting Danny Lee get away. Just over a second ahead at the moment. Kershaw in third place, 7.5 seconds off the lead. So Lee and Miller very much in their own game at the moment. And Stephen Haley, the winner at round one, he is leading in AM. So he's managed to get past the pole sitter Ollie Carmody with Ryan Penny in third. But neither with Alistair Hatcher, the championship leader, down the order at the moment. It's all wide open in AM.
And again, you look at what's happened in AM. The front three are pretty close together, and then there's about a 10-11 second gap between Penny and Boney as well. So it shows just how those two incidents, or a couple of incidents at the start of the race, has really just thrown a spanner in the works and separated out this field, which is not what we would want to see, if we're honest, from a bystander point of view commentating on this race. A little bit deep there from Carradine into Acque Minerale, but yeah, we'll still have some good racing because it's close at the front between the two categories as well, though.
Yeah, that is where the best battles are, actually, isn't it? At the front of the field in both categories. As Alex Jones he qualified well in that Jägermeister car. He's nearly about to drop off the lead lap, actually, after having to come in to get repairs. As Alex Owen then up the inside of the Scuderia Chicken House car of Andrew Shepherd. It's a good move there into Grassini. Lots of great iconic liveries of Porsche racing past and present, with the Alex Owen running the Targa Florio livery of 1970. JW Engineering with Siffert and Redman. In fact, you know who owns that car now? It's Jerry Seinfeld owns that car now.
Of all people, I wouldn't have guessed Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, he's a huge Porsche collector.
Oh, I mean, I know he's really into his cars. Usually takes comedians for coffee in them, but no, I didn't realise he was that much of a collector.
He owns the first 550 Spider. He did own the first 935, which now lives not far away from this racetrack we're viewing right now.
Well, there's Zaruta trying to work his way back through, so he's up to 8th. He's the question. I think the saving grace for him is the point that you made earlier, Peter, which is he didn't actually make any contact, and that's going to help him because at least he's not being hindered by any damage to the aero.
Yeah, I mean there are smaller beaches in Italy than that gravel trap at Tamburello. So yeah, definitely if we were going to go off, that was a place to go off. I'm sure that wasn't in his thinking at the time, but yeah, for Zaruta. And the thing is you know, if Danny Lee doesn't make a mistake, it's going to be very difficult for Zaruta to run the gap down. At the moment, he's 15 seconds back. But the thing is if he can get up onto the podium, it's not, you don't get any more or less points based on the time difference. The points are awarded on position. So, this is all about the damage limitation. If he can drag himself back onto the podium, he can come out of that going, do you know what, I got away with one there.
Yeah. It's the minimising the points loss to Danny Lee. Will be in his mind. I think, to be honest, in his mind, it'll be frustration that he's made such a mistake right at the very start of the race. So he needs to focus up and just focus on moving forward through the field. But of course, the further up the field you get, the more difficult it gets to move through the field, because generally speaking, the further forwards you go, the quicker the drivers are.
Very true. Yeah, very, very true. And the thing is as well, we really don't know what the score is with fuel. Suzuka, only one driver was able to do it on one stop. That was Rob Sharp. He won the race. Last week, I mean, we were flabbergasted because you would think that Fuji would be a more fuel-heavy circuit. It didn't turn out to be the case. It was easy for everyone to make it home on just one stop. No. It's on. No. Why? You don't need to squeeze there. You don't need to do it. Oh, Alistair Hatcher's, that was a brilliant save there from Hatcher, but didn't need to just crowd over. Alex Owens he's running his line, and you're just asking for trouble there. It's very lucky not to get piped into the wall there.
I think that Hatcher was initially squeezing because the leaders were actually coming through the pro leaders were coming through to lap them. So I think they were trying to give some space, but then he didn't need to continue squeezing. that's the thing, Peter, is he didn't need to just carry that on. He could have left some space. What was it the famous Spaniard said? You must always leave her the space, and
leave for the space.
And that's exactly what you need to do. You need to leave racing room. But this is brilliant at the front, because this has brought Rob Miller right into the race league battle.
I think Miller can be clever here, because he's got the pace to go with Lee. So he's not, doesn't look like he's hanging on by his fingernails here. But he can, if he can stay with Lee, yeah, that's a bit unnecessary, really. Poor old Alex Owen, what was he supposed to do in that situation? He gets driven off the road, really. Through goes Saruta, that's another position, goes up into 6th then, past Paul Goffin. But yeah, it's this is if, as they come through traffic, as you know, if Rob Miller can keep with Danny Lee, can actually use a bit of slipstream to his advantage, try and minimise his fuel consumption, try and improve that fuel consumption, because then he can potentially try and risk it at the pit stop and just fill a little bit less and try and get track position. But let's see how it's going to play out. We really don't know how close they are on fuel or not. We'll only know when we approach the 20-minute to go mark at the halfway point of this race, as they come out of Gresini. And Daniel Lee's looking strong, but Miller's matching him blow for blow.
One thing that I'm thinking of is that this is a bit more of an old school track as Imola. Yes, of course, it has had modernisation done to it in parts, but oh, Danny Lee really out wide. And this is the point I'm going to touch on. Track limits here. It is very easy to accumulate incident points, especially up at the Gresini chicane. If you're new to iRacing, if you've never seen this is your first time, say you're somebody who's a fellow Porsche Club of Great Britain member who's watching this, supporting some of the drivers out here, you might be thinking, well, what's an instant point? Well, iRacing has a no-fault system to decide to try and encourage safe driving. So if you go off track, so touch the grass, for example, or go all 4 wheels completely off the track where there's asphalt runoff, that's a 1 incident point that you accumulate at that point. If you lose control of the car, that's 2 incident points for that 1 incident. And if you have heavy contact with another car, that's 4 incident points. And again, that's for that actual incident. So these drivers today, if they reach 17 points, which in a 40-minute race around here is very doable, you're going to be having to do a drive-through penalty.
And it is a really long, a painfully long pit lane here at Imola. You do not want to do that. That is a race record. But only being a 40-minute race, you've just not got the time to recover. You cannot, over a few hours, yes, sure, but not under 40 minutes of racing. Great battle here then for 4th position. Byron Crawford holding on to it in the white and red 1110s machine, but right on his tailpipe there is Drew Fletcher, and just a couple of car lengths up the road in 3rd place is Steve Kershaw in the Barbie machine. So they're wanting to not grab onto the coattails, maybe grab onto the ponytails there of Barbie and try and drag themselves up into the podium fight. Could
well do, yeah. Looking to the inside into Villeneuve, that's going to be a bit brave. It's not normally the move to make. You normally set them up for the exit of Villeneuve, try and get the move into Tosa, but not done this time. One thing I always note with this, particularly with this Porsche 963, is the engine cover exhaust pipes. Rather than going through into a diffuser, they just come up over the top into the engine cover there, and how they've aerodynamically integrated them into using that exhaust gas, because you can guarantee there'll be an aerodynamicist somewhere will be there saying, well, actually, we can use those exhaust gases to help energize the diffuser somehow, or have it go in a certain way to have the best aerodynamic effect. And it always reminds me of the 2000s Formula One cars, where they all seem to follow the original plan of the Ferrari, with having the top exhaust rather than diffuser exhaust pipe.
Yeah, the era of the blown diffuser.
Oh,
remember that? Yeah.
Early 2010s, yeah.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a Red Bull trick, wasn't it? It was that they exploited pretty well. And that was, yeah, Sebastian Vettel, he loved that style of car as well. He was just dominant in that kind of car. The gap for... Go on.
I was going to say, I would love to see Sebastian Vettel in one of these cars at Le Mans.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, unfortunately. It's Pascal Wehrlein signed for the third Porsche alongside Tandy and Nasser. And Tandy has a thing for winning in the third car at Le Mans. Done it before with a Formula One-ish driver. Well, of course, Hulkenberg, he was a full-time Formula One driver at the time, but Pascal Wehrlein, of course, has been in the past. Battle for third is really holding up as Kershaw, the pink Barbie machine, is being closed down a little. Whoa, he's more than closed down, he's lost it. He's lost it at Grassini. Oh, Barbie goes for a twirl, and oh dear, Kershaw somehow keeps it out the wall. That car was broadside, and that allows Crawford and Fletcher to go through into third and fourth. And just at the back of your shot, there he is, Christian Tsuruta now back into the mix.
I was just looking at the lap times here, and Christian Tsuruta has been so much faster since he's been able to clear Dean Powell, Rob Sharp, all those people. He's been putting in some really good lap times to get him caught up to this battle for third place. So yeah, Byron Crawford and Drew Fletcher need to stop fighting with each other and just focus forward, because there's a flying bogey coming very, very quickly in their direction.
It's been flicked. The bogey has been flicked and is nearly about to land on the back of Barbie at the moment. They've got 22 minutes on the clock now. We need to watch the pit lane. We need to watch to see, do these GDPs come into the pits at the end of this lap? And if they don't, they can get home on just that one stop. If not, they're really up against it. So as they approach the end of the lap, we'll have to look very closely. If they make it through one more lap, then they're safe on fuel, I think.
Danny Lee's actually pulled out a bit of a gap at the front as well, so he can focus on himself and just focus on his fuel number and being able to do that. So yeah, I don't expect to see him coming onto pit road. And in fact, no, he doesn't. He carries on out there. So yeah, so we're going to be a one-stop race, Peter, as I said.
Yeah, one-stop race then. So yeah, Suzuka. So out of the three circuits, Suzuka, Fuji and Imola, Suzuka is by far the most thirsty. Who'd have thought it?
Drew Fletcher's on early though. I think he'll be fine, because we did have the half-lap pace lap to take into account as well.
Yeah, very, very, very true. Very true. But, yeah, interesting. So, Tsuruta then, he's on the charge. And who at the moment is in line for the Paul Smith Silver Salver Award for Best 5-lap average?
Oh, well, that's Danny Lee at the front.
Okay.
He's averaging a 1:32.649 compared to Rob Miller with a 33.0. He's just consistently 0.4 of a second per lap quicker in these last 5 laps as Danny Lee compared to Rob.
He's just pulled the pin. Totally pulled the pin.
I wonder if Danny Lee has said, I've got a number to hit fuel-wise if I'm at the front. Once I hit that number, I could just pull the pin and go for it.
Seems that way. Seems that way. And Tsuruta's not got to worry. He's going to get home easily. Not a problem at all in the flying bogey or the cool bogeys, cool runnings, flying runnings. We need to work on that one. We've got 2 weeks to the next round. Yeah, I'll brainstorm. Yes, we'll circle back in 2 weeks.
We'll flight up the flag and see which way it blows.
We'll put it. You know about all these.
We'll throw it against the wall and see what sticks. Yeah. Danny Lee, especially with the flying bug. Danny Lee then he's got the pit stop. It's a pit party, Peter. Everybody's coming in.
There's Jägermeister, there's a bogey, it's all going on. Anyway, Danny Lee out onto circuit then, and is it me or has he just pulled an enormous gap there? He's pulled a couple of seconds out in that pit sequence. In terms of time that they were in the pits, Rob Miller was half a second more, but it's the cone to cone, yeah.
Yeah, Rob Miller was like 3 seconds slower cone to cone. So he's I don't know what's happened, whether he's been a bit sort of sheepish coming onto the pit lane or something like that. I don't know, as you even got your leading GT3s now onto pit road. So yeah, it's a veritable pit party here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain.
Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome for that pit party. There's Crawford battling away with Fletcher then. This is for your podium spot with 18 minutes left on the clock. Fletcher trying to find a way through, which is not easy here at Imola. It's that kind of nature of circuit. It's notorious for it being difficult to make a pass, and when you throw in a multi-class element, that makes it even more difficult. As out of Aquaman Rally they go, and Crawford defending well. Kind of defending well just by running a strong line, not leaving himself exposed, not making mistakes. Mistake there for Fletcher's. Here comes Tsuruta, who will smell blood and immediately gets a better run. Can he set something up for Ravazza as Fletcher trying to hold him off as best as he possibly can? And you know that Tsuruta will... Oh dear.
No.
Well, I didn't know he was going to do that, I'll be honest.
Zurita's waiting, to be fair to him. That's good gentlemanly driving right there.
Oh dear.
That all started at the Grassini chicane though with Drew Fletcher. I think he just basically changed down gears too quickly and locked up the rears, and that's what first caused that initial half spin, and then the contact between the two of them. Oh dear, Christian. Oh, that was you need to give that one back.
And all the while, this is just Christmas Day for Byron Crawford, who's now 7 seconds ahead of these guys in third. So Crawford now is in the position where he's just got to try and just hit his marks and doesn't actually have to push necessarily too hard. Just get into his normal, natural rhythm, and he's got enough time behind him. In fact, that actually 6-7 seconds or so, and that is if Tsuruta gets by quickly, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, as Fletcher's trying everything to keep Tsuruta at bay, and Tsuruta getting maybe a fraction impatient now, trying to force the move, and it's not there necessarily.
I think what we are witnessing is the frustrations of making a mistake at turn one. That was Drew's making, was that one. But that's slowed down Christian a bit more in all of that. He's had to take avoiding action, which means Byron Crawford pulls away just that little half a second more. But I think Tsuruta, you've just seen the desperations of someone who has made a mistake at the very start of the race and is frustrated with himself.
Yeah, so it's going to be 7 seconds then up the road for Tsuruta if he wants to get up onto the podium. And, it's on the back foot after missing the opening round of the season, has got to try and put as many on the board as he can. So he'll get the head down now for the next 15 minutes. But out front, Danny Lee is just on a march and is, pulling time out of Rob Miller right now. And it's got a good, healthy gap back. Whereas in the AM class, Steve Haley is 2.3 seconds to the grid. In fact, made that 2.5 seconds at the last timing point ahead of Ollie Carbadine, with Brian Penny 10 seconds further back. In fact, Brian Penny's in a very lonely third position right now, with 10 seconds up to second and 30 seconds back to Meyer in fourth place.
And again, it was that lap one, wasn't it, that caused the carnage that separated out the GT3s and the AM class. Alex Barnett getting ahead of Kim Such, who's got Alistair Hatcher, the recovering Hatcher, behind. It's a good job in this series that the drivers do get a couple of fast repairs as well, because Alistair will have quite gladly taken that after that lap 1 melee.
Yeah, it's that turn 1 was just so destructive for so many, wasn't it? And Hatcher, he's really on the fight back in right now. He's in 7th in class. Got to try and put as many points on the board as he can. At the moment, right behind Kim Such in 6th. And then there's the opportunities to be had. There's 3 cars quite close to him, where if Hatcher can show the pace he has had over the season so far, might be able to pick up a few more positions. But it's finding the place to make the move. That's the thing.
And this goes back to the point that we made earlier, Peter, isn't it? Oh, speaking of making moves, Piratella's not usually one of them, but Ralph Mayer gets assisted to the side of the track, and that allows Such and Hatcher to go through in all of that. But yeah, Alex Bonnet up into 4th with that move, and I think Ralph Mayer may have 1 or 2 words to say about that.
Possibly, yes. I think there's going to be a lot of stories to tell in the virtual paddock over the next hour or 2 after we finish the race in 12 minutes and 50 seconds time. As Tsuruta still pushing, he's got the under the headlight flashers. Oh dear, oh he's off big time. Oh, he's really off. As off goes Such, and Hatcher says thank you very much, Merry Christmas to me, but Tsuruta looked like he was going off at exit stage right and quick. Now, has he been able to pick the car out the gravel? He has. Goodness me, that was just a real misjudgment there from Tsuruta.
Remember me saying just a couple of minutes earlier that we are witnessing the manifestation of a frustrated driver? We saw it in big time that he did not need to make that move around the outside into Rivazza. He needed to be patient, wait until after Rivazza, where you clearly got the pace advantage on the power out of the corner, because these prototypes are absolutely lightning. But what's he trying? As Kim Such got turned by Alistair Hatcher and all of that, but what is he trying there?
I'm not really. I mean, I think he just got a little bit caught out. I think he came over the crest and didn't anticipate there being 3 GT3 cars fighting away, and actually had to bail out at stage right. Could be wrong, but that's how I saw it. But yeah, there definitely was a zero-sum game there for sure. And even in a clear road, had he just got in there a bit hot regardless, nevertheless, he's right behind Steve Kershaw in 6th. And I mean, if Tsuruta can get out of this with any kind of bag of points at all, considering how eventful a race it's been, I think really anything is a bonus at this stage.
I think if I'm right, if I'm Steve Kershaw, I'm saying, do you know what, Christian? You don't even need to show them those. Just go by. I'll probably make that position up with the way things have been going for you, Christian. I know Steve's not going to do that, but still, it's been one of those days for Christian Tsuruta, and I'm not getting involved in that fight and having an accident.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way. As here comes Tsuruta then up the inside, hard on the brakes, leaning on the front end of that Porsche 963 into Tamburello. And great move there. Just didn't really leave Kershaw an opportunity to fight that one. As once the door was open, Tsuruta just kicked it open and off the hinges, through he went. As a little bit of a loose moment there on the exit curbing of Villeneuve, and now Kershaw under pressure from Dean Powell.
Yeah. Again, another driver who had an awful lap 1, didn't he? And he's not been making the headlines, shall we say, has he, Peter? He's very much been just going about his business quietly.
Yes, just trying to pick positions back up again. Is maybe Kershaw at the point where he just maybe making a few mistakes now as well. He's really being put under the cosh by both Tsuruta and from Dean Powell. And Tsuruta already making a bit of a breakaway here. He's in 6th right now. He's got a couple of seconds up the road to Rob Sharp and indeed to Drew Fletcher. So there's still gains. I mean, we could potentially see Tsuruta coming out of here in the top 5, which, considering he's well, been through the gravel on more than one occasion, that wouldn't be so bad.
Black flag news, Peter. Kim Such and Ralph Mayer, both with black flags, so instant points accumulate. Oh my goodness. I think Tamburello needs to go in the bin after this week with the amount of incidents we've seen there. My goodness, it's just been carnage down there into that first proper turn. They should maybe try their hand at the tambourine and try that, see if that's any better. He's here all week, everybody. Of course, Dean Powell giving it a boot full of throttle means that he's put a load of heat through his tyres, and Paul Goffin can not only smell tyre rubber, but he can smell a position gain here as well.
Well, can he get that? That would be a good bonus with just over 8 minutes left on the clock. Danny Lee, interestingly, hasn't actually extended that gap on Rob Miller. So, I mean, pace-wise, Danny Lee and Rob Miller have been pretty evenly matched over the course of the races. Oh dear, mistake there for Dean Powell. It's a good 360 though, top marks for style.
Oh, Drew Fletcher's been off into the kitty litter now. That's down at Rivazza, very easily done down there, because it's downhill braking there, and of course no ABS on these cars, is there? So just get your braking that little bit wrong, even 2 or 3 meters too late, you can end up locking up and going straight on into the gravel at Rivazza.
Yeah, it can be awkward braking here in these cars. As you said, no ABS and brake-by-wire system. And it's a 7-speed gearbox, so you've got a lot of rattling down the gears as well, and that can sometimes be tricky too. But that means then that Tsuruta goes up into 5th place. Got a couple of seconds up the road to Rob Sharp with just under 7 minutes left on the clock. And Brian Crawford another 11 seconds or so up the road in 3rd in the podium positions. But yeah, interestingly, I mean, for Danny Lee and Rob Miller, the gap between Lee and Miller, a big proportion of it has come down to the cone to cone time in the pits, execution of in and out the pits. Sometimes it's some of the most valuable practice you can do is another mistake for Fletcher there, but sometimes that's the most valuable practice you can do, is seeing where your absolute latest braking point is coming into the pits, because that is actually one of the places you can gain the most time.
It is, absolutely, and it's many a race have had positions change because of somebody being an absolute demon onto the brakes, onto the pit lane speed limit cone, and certainly some drivers better at it than others, and some will absolutely abuse it. And the thing is, if you've got time, I mean, they won't have had time to change their tyres, but if you've got time to change all your tyres, you'll regularly see drivers coming in with plumes of tyre smoke coming up in the air as they reach that pit lane speed limit, because they're just going to be depositing those tyres by the time they get to the garage anyway.
Yeah, it's that's true. I mean, they're just trying to push it to the limit that they can, because if you get it right, it's it's the biggest amount of free time you could get over a single lap at least. If you're a tenth quicker in one corner over 20 laps, obviously it's a different story, but it's at this level, it's a very good way to gain time, and Danny Lee's given himself a comfortable margin. I mean, yes, he pulled a few seconds out of Miller coming into in those last few laps before going into the pits, but if they'd had the same pit transit time, they would be battling wheel to wheel over the race win right now. And
in fact, that time has closed up at the front a little bit. I mean, traffic will have affected that to a degree, but certainly Rob Miller's not giving this one up. He's keeping pushing, and in fact his last lap was half a second quicker than your race leader. In fact, Rob Miller's 5-lap average is about half a second quicker, so just under, about 4.5 tenths of a second quicker than Danny Lee. I think we're in the stages of it being a little bit too little too late, unfortunately for Rob, and unfortunately for us to see. But all it takes is one mistake, and as we've seen already today, that could quite easily happen here at this track.
There's been plenty, hasn't there? And with that higher track temperature, which is of course typical here on a sunny day in the afternoon, you're going to get high track temperatures, which makes the track surface greasy, makes the grip worse. You would think if you have kind of hot and sticky trainers, you'd get more grip on them. Yes, but with racing tyres, when they overheat, they just don't quite get the same. Or when the surface overheats, doesn't quite have the same grip to it. I always say with if you've got curling shoes and they've been in your bag all summer, and they get all hard, I have to put them on the... Oh, Saruta's off! Saruta's off as I come away from that tangential line there. Whoa! Saruta's... Oh, he's just done a flick turn right in front of that now. Who's that? Dean Powell?
Do you want the most unsurprising news from this latest Saruta outing?
He's gone over the incident point limit.
Yes, he has. He's got a black flag, so he's got to do a drive-through penalty now.
It's not been a good day.
No, not at all. Yeah, serves it straight away. I think that's the sensible thing to do.
The one thing about Christian Saruta is it's never ever boring.
Yes.
He's put on some of the best drives we've ever seen in Porsche Club of Great Britain history. He's won the championship on several occasions, but he does it in that all-attack style. It's not plodding around. If it was a Prost or a Senna, he's definitely a Senna. That doesn't mean that being a Prost is bad, by the way. I think they're both equally good.
It was for Richard Burns or Colin McRae. He's a Colin McRae.
He's definitely, that's maybe a better example. Yes, definitely. For sure. And, well, all the more entertaining for it. But at the end of the day, it's Danny Lee who leads the race with just over 3 seconds. And at round 3, he's in line to win his first ever race in the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing. Now, this will be his penultimate lap. I think, yes, it will be his penultimate lap. So now, that's a good point. That means we're going to potentially go 1 lap longer than the field might have expected. Because just before the clock ticks 0, they'll go for another lap. They might have expected the checker flag to come out at that point. So, does everybody have enough fuel to get home? As Fletcher comes in.
I think that's answering your question there, Peter. We did see 1 or 2 drivers come in a lap earlier, didn't we? And Drew was one of those drivers who came in a lap earlier than the majority of your prototype field. So, yeah, I think Drew will just be a quick splash and dash, and then away, he says, as he's 6, 7, 8 seconds. Oh dear, Drew, this isn't a splash, that's for sure.
No. Well, is the gap coming down to Rob Miller because Danny Lee's really worried about fuel? Is he coasting this home? Is he having to lift and coast massively to get this car home?
Oh, I tell you what, don't go anywhere, folks. This could be an absolute blinding finish.
Well, it is going to be another lap. And the gap is, it sits at 3 seconds for now, 3.1. As they head towards the line. White flag in the air then, so there you go. With just 15 seconds left on the clock, they have to go around for another lap. So, does Danny Lee have enough fuel in here? That's the question.
I'd love an on board. I'd love to be hearing what his throttle's doing here. Hint. Oh, there's a car off.
Fletcher off again. Oh, and Fletcher's just come out onto the road right in front of Rob Miller. Rob Miller's going to get held up, surely. Let's listen in to Danny Lee. Wouldn't say anything of great concern there. No.
Here we go. Piratello, I think that will tell us. No, he's pushing. He's still on it, is Danny. I think he's okay for fuel.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's all right. As Cummings comes over the line in 7th at the moment in the flying Calipo, but Danny Lee, I mean, it's been a pretty flawless performance. You know, qualified in pole, didn't make the mistake on the cold tire. Just as I say that, makes a slither of an error you could almost ignore there. Coming through Grassini, he's got the time in hand as he comes up through Ravazza, a newcomer to the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing this season. Certainly not a newcomer to virtual motorsport, but Danny Lee is going to join the illustrious list of winners here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing as he wins round 3 here at Imola. Rob Miller does come home in second then, just 2.9 seconds between them at the line, and it's 20 seconds further back to Byron Crawford in third, and what has been certainly a race of attrition. But Stephen Haley, after winning at Suzuka, had a trickier time of it at Fuji in round 2, but back towards the front and looking like he's going to climb the top step of the podium once again, with Oliver Carr-Bodine in second place, whose Carr-Bodine has been so close so many times over the years. He in the AM class last year was tied on points with the eventual champion Drew Fletcher and lost on countback, but keeping ticking up the points. But it's going to be Stephen Haley who comes out of the final corner, out of Ravazza, flashes the lights with joy, and he is going to take the win here and very likely put himself on the top of the championship table. But Alistair Hatcher, bearing in mind he was involved in that big crash on lap 1, he's going to bring it home in 4th, Paul.
And I think that's showing how a recovery drive goes, is what Alistair Hatcher has done here. Really good job. He's actually a position higher than where he qualified as well as Alistair, so he's a net gain for this race as well. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed in getting involved in that shenanigans on the exit of Tamburello, but certainly good recovery drive for Alistair to be able to finish here and to get that 4th place. I want to touch as well Byron Crawford in Pro, first podium position for him this season.
Well, all happening tonight here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain, but it's Danny Lee who makes it a 3rd different winner in 3 races in the Pro class, and he goes to the top, or extends his championship lead at the top of the championship, just ahead of Rob Miller by 2.9 seconds. Then it was Byron Crawford in 3rd. Rob Sharp was 4th, with Stephen Kershaw rounding out the top 5. Paul Goffin in the Sim Racing Magazine car was 6th. Then it was James Cummings, Dean Powell, Christian Zaruta down in 9th after several errors. Very, very uncharacteristic for the former multiple champion, and puts him on the back foot in the championship chase. Drew Fletcher, likewise, a few late errors for him, dropped him to 10th. Danny Jones came home in 11th, and then it was Rob Healy in 12th. In the AM class then, it's a 2nd win of the season for Stephen Haley, who wins by 3 seconds from Oliver Carr-Bodine, who launches himself up towards the sharp end of the championship standings. Ryan Penny comes home on the podium. Then it was Alistair Hatcher, after that incident on lap 1, comes home in 4th. Then it was Alex Boney, Alex Owen, Kim Such, Tony Franklin, Ralph Meyer, and Andy Shepherd for Scuderia Chickenhouse comes home in 10th. Andy Marston in the Pig was 11th. And then it was Alex Jones in 12th. Well, Imola in the books then, and well, did it go how we expected, Paul?
It was certainly impactful, wasn't it? And had plenty of drama happening, but maybe not the drama that we would have wanted to have seen. I think it's fair to say, Peter. I think lap one certainly didn't help matters in terms of giving us a close, intense race amongst a number of drivers at the front. But we still had a good race between Danny Lee and Rob Miller. Rob pushed all the way to the end, it must be said, and really tried to be able to compete there at the front. But yeah, Danny Lee just having that advantage that was proved so crucial.
Well, lots of stories to tell. One story we need to follow is a podium finisher in GTP, and that was Byron Crawford for 1110s Racing. A great finish here at Imola for him, and he is now down with Paul Smith.
Byron, well done then. First podium of the season for the 1110s team. How was that for you today at Imola?
It was quite solid, I think, for a change. Had a good start. There was a bit of carnage in front of me, which was good, so I made up a few places. Then I dropped it at the hairpin and lost a few places that I made up. And then just had a pretty solid run, and I quite like the track, to be fair. So yeah, good run.
We saw you having plenty of exciting racing as well with Steve Kershaw and a couple others as well. So they were keeping you busy, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it's just so difficult on the brakes, this car. I just find it so hard to sort of jump up the inside and stay controlled and things like that. So it's a case of biding your time and just sort of playing the long game, really, which kind of suits my driving style. But yeah, it was good racing.
Well, we'll let you get off, but congratulations on your first podium of the season, Byron.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
And from one first to another first, Danny Lee will be joining us right now here. And Danny, it's the third time we get to speak to you, but it's the first time you're on the top step of the podium. That must feel nice.
Yeah, that was a really entertaining race. I loved it. I can't imagine it was nail biting to commentate until the end, when Rob was sort of drawing me in towards the end. But it was fascinating to drive. The fuel burn really did keep us guessing till the very, very end. And until I saw that white flag, I didn't feel any sense of security at all. But it was really fun just being chased by Rob all the way through. I enjoyed that a lot.
I mean, the first time that you came through the traffic, that really mixed up with you and Rob. He was really on your tail, wasn't he, going right through towards the pit stop phase? But at that pit stop, it just seemed to be that you just had that edge, cone to cone, over Rob. I think that gave you that cushion, didn't it?
Yeah, to see Rob go from 2 to 3 seconds behind at most to more like 7 and 8 seconds out of the pit stop, that gave me the breathing space I really, really needed. I think if I'd messed up my pit stop in any way, shape or form, it'd have been right there. It would have complicated the fuel strategy completely. Christian Schurter spinning off on turn 1 was a very welcome reprieve, because that was going to worry my fuel strategy the whole way. So it was really a driver's race, this one. Loved it. Felt like a great flow, and to take the win is satisfying indeed.
Well, you've got all the podium spots sewn up now this season, but congratulations and all the best for the next round.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks, Peter. See you again.
That was Danny Lee then. First win for him. Let's round off the podium in Pro just quickly and bring in Rob Miller for a chat. And Rob, well, hello. I mean, that was quite the race here today from you. Started third, finishing second. Okay, Christian going off at turn 1 will have helped that matter, but you really kept Daniel honest, didn't you, all the way through?
Yeah, the first stint went pretty well, and I sort of felt on pace. I messed up in the pit stop and went a bit long and lost a chunk of time, so I came back out quite a few seconds behind. And then felt like I was reeling him in, but I suspect Danny had backed off a little bit and saving himself. I didn't know whether I was going to make the end for fuel. It was a bit touch and go lap times, I think, whether it was going to be 26 or 27 laps, and if it was 27 then I was going to need another stop. So every lap felt an adventure on this new tyre model. It was pretty difficult.
It certainly looked to be quite the challenge at the start of the race in particular.
Yeah.
But that's 3 rounds now. That's a couple of second places for you. You must be thinking, okay, next time out, I want that top split.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It was a shame to miss the last round, but back with new tyres and I don't know. It's so difficult. I need to get some practice in, I think, to be anywhere near to Danny next time.
Well, congratulations anyway. Another podium in the books.
Cool. Thank you.
There we go. That's Rob Miller joining us. And now let's go to the AMs, because we've got a couple of the AM drivers waiting for us. Stephen Haley joins us now. Once again, AM winner. Well, I mean, talk about that race, because it all seemed to happen behind you, especially on lap 1, didn't it?
It did indeed. It did indeed. It was. I couldn't exactly see what was going off behind. I was just trying to make sure I didn't go too deep into the first corner. But I got a good start, I think, and I think Ryan was in close quarters behind me. But I think he just had to give up the place to Ollie to take second again.
But it's another really good result for you in terms of the championship, and crucially, I know you don't want to have it happen that way, but Alistair Hatcher was involved in that incident on lap 1, so he's finished in 4th. That's good for your championship.
It's good for my points overall, indeed, yeah. Compared to Alistair, it's a shame he got caught up in that, because that would have been, I think it would have been quite a tasty three-way battle, I think, between us there. Yeah, it's a shame he got caught up in that.
Well, it's another win, though, in the books. Congratulations, and all the best for the next round.
Cheers, thank you, Paul.
That's Stephen Haley. And then we're going to finish off with the man who finished in 3rd place in AM here today, Ryan Penny. I mean, Ryan, you've certainly got one of the most colourful cars on the grid, but that's a 2nd place, now a 3rd place in the season. It's going good so far, isn't it?
It's nice to see you again. So, I don't know how them two in front were so quick, but I sort of just had to run my own pace and leave the GTPs plenty of room, and nice clean race, really.
I mean, you were really in the middle of all that shenanigans, weren't you, at lap 1? Just what did you see of that, if anything?
To be honest, I just saw it in my mirrors. And so I think there was Christian on the inside going slow, and I don't know whether we all just bunched up or whatever. I need to watch the replay back and see what happened.
But it certainly worked out. I mean, at the end of the day, it was quite a dull race, though, for you, wasn't it, having such a big gap there?
Yeah, it would have been nice if I was closer to Oliver and Stephen, but I just haven't got that sort of pace. So if it's a boring race and it gets me 3rd place, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. Best feeling to get yourself onto the podium with a boring race. But congratulations, though, still on getting that 3rd place.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
There we go, Peter. So always good to hear from some of the protagonists involved in that one. And yeah, I think those lap 1 instants did deny us a bit of action out there at the front.
They did, yeah. It sort of pushed it apart a little bit in places, but you know, it left opportunities for others to come through and score. Well, it's the first win of the season for Danny Lee, who extends his championship lead here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. In 2 weeks' time, we go for our first endurance race, 80 minutes around the Daytona International Speedway. Be sure to join us on the 16th of April at 8 o'clock UK time. It'll be myself, Peter Mackay and Paul Smith taking you through the action there. But for us all here at RaceSpotTV, thanks so much for watching and good night.
1, 2, 3, let's go!